Hello everyone and welcome to this live stream where I'm going to be giving you a tour of my recent sketchbook, volume number 167. And it's wonderful to have you all here in this live stream. If you haven't already, please say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from. And I'm just checking to make sure everything seems to be going okay from my side of things. Let that chat start going. Okay, we're good. Yeah, welcome to people watching the replay as well. I'm going to be sharing my sketches, talking about my process, my sketchbook practice, and answering all your questions. As always, Chantal is in the chat. She has a little blue spanner next to her name to here helping out with everything. If you have any questions, if you can put questions in caps at the start, just so that it's easier for us to find. And let me just see if the chat is going. It seems a little slow this morning, but hopefully everything will work out okay. So let's just kick it off with a question. What's stopping you from sketching regularly? So do you have a regular sketching practice? Are you happy with it? If not, what's stopping you? What are some of the challenges that you face? And we'll start getting there. And look, it's so wonderful to see some names I know from the Sketching Now community. And also welcome to anyone if this is your first time doing a live stream with me. We will have lots of fun over the next hour or so. So, hello, we've got people from all over the world. It's so nice to see you all. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so just people probably coming in a little bit late. 11 p.m. from Spain. Great to have you with us. So just kicking off with a question. What's stopping you from sketching regularly? Unhappy about my drawings. Okay, that can be a deterrent for sketching regularly. And look, what I want to really show today is that I'm taking a lot of risks with my work at the moment, and not always happy with my pages, with my sketches, but I am still, I've got strategies in place so that I can finish the page off and be happy. Okay, we got any more chat? I'm used to the chat being much, okay. Barriers to sketching in Seattle, it's the weather, rain, chilly to cold. Sometimes I have to sketch from my car. Yes, Kate, that's other things, lots of other commitments. Okay, I'll be talking about that and sharing some of the ways that I sketch as well. Jan, thank you for sharing. A bit too cold to be sketching on location right now. I'm actually talking about sketching in general, Iona. So although sketching on location is what I love to do, any kind of sketching. Last year I posted one watercolour on Instagram every day. It was good to have that challenge. Well done, Charlotte. Making a priority among other commitments. Okay, so this is a bit of a theme happening here. Nervous about starting a sketch each time, but I try to push through it. Yay for you, Karen. This is good. Many other interests, not enough time at home. Daily sketching when we travel. Well, that's always good to hear, Peggy. That's that's the thing. I need to finish the 2 classes I started with you. No rush, Robin. We have lifetime access. I struggle fitting everything in the page. How can I make sure to get everything to scale? Yes, that can be something. That's why I'm kind of working bigger these days as well. Okay, I'll let some more trickle over. Let me go to overhead camera. Let's see if this works. Okay, good. So this is my current book. It's an A4 hardbound alpha, and you can see that it buckles a little bit, but not too much. And I thought there's really 3 themes to this particular sketchbook. which is often the case for all of my sketchbooks, but I think it's important at the moment, before I start looking through that, you kind of understand where I'm coming from. So my number one goal to sketching is to create a narrative of my life. So I'm not about creating masterpieces. If the sketch works, then that's great, but I'm about creating the story of my life. And in order to do that, I'm trying to sketch most events in my life in some way. So I have to sketch in the in-between moments, or I have tried ways of linking sketching to other activities, such as going for a walk, going and getting my morning coffee. The second theme of this particular sketchbook is that I have I'm using lots of different materials and doing a lot of experimenting. So this is creating this attitude of play, which I really love. And also it's giving me a way of being constantly inspired, even though I'm sketching the same boring scenes over and over again. And the third theme is the fact that for me it's really important that the design of the page is as important, possibly even more important at some stage in the process than the actual sketch itself. And so I'm doing a lot of experimenting as part of the sketchbook design course, which is part of my online courses at sketchingnow.com. So there's a lot of experimenting there. Okay, so Lucy's saying not satisfied with any of the drawings and I'm frustrated that I've ruined the sketchbook. Okay, there's no such thing as ruining a sketchbook. Okay, here we go. So look, there's pages in this book that I'm not that happy with, but it's the overall narrative. Lisa's saying more motivated, some type of challenge that has defined boundaries. Okay, so welcome to everyone that has just joined. I'm going to start flicking through my book, and we're just talking about what's stopping you sketching at the moment. And I've just shared the fact that this sketchbook is experimental. It's a narrative of my life, and it's as much about the design of the pages as it is the individual sketches. And I've been doing this since sketchbook number 15, or I don't know. I've started my page documenting my supplies. I don't really want to get bogged down with materials, but this page shows my watercolour palette, and Chantal will have links that will magically appear in the chat as we go. So I've got, at the moment, I've got my watercolour, I've got a collection of coloured pencils, and then some watercolour pencils, and then some water-soluble markers, some Tombos, and some gold Faber aqua markers from Faber-Castell, and I have since doing this page I have reduced them. So this is currently the collection of pencils and watercolor pencils, a whole lot of brands. I like all brands for different reasons, so that's my collection. I've now reduced this, and then I've also reduced the markers, which I carry in a separate container. So these are the gold Faber aqua markers and a few Tombos as well, and so that is really what you're going to be seeing as I show you these pages, is that I'm mixing these. Particularly I like to put the pencils and the markers down first and then watercolor over the top. There's also a link to all the articles that I've written about this sketchbook, so there's a lot more in detail. Okay, so let's just start. You'll probably ask questions as I go along, so I'll just talk about a couple of pages and then look up and see if we have any questions. So you can already see on this page some of those three themes are already here on this first page. I'm trying to document my life. I had a family Christmas get together. I was too busy, I didn't sketch at the time, but I took a photo of the pavlovas, which ties into a conversation I had the day before. And I sketch from a photo, so I don't always do it, but sometimes I do. So that's recording that event. And then I also had a Zoom call with my friend Franny in Brussels. And all through these three are all experimenting using these markers and see how they behave in different circumstances. So there's a lot of really beautiful effects that I'm really happy with in this one. But then through here, not so much. And then through here, it didn't kind of go to plan now. So that's kind of like, you know, documenting bits and parts of my day, the cup of tea I need after being around the kids all day. And then you can see how carefully I place things on the page in order to create an overall pleasing spread. Here's another one. So I go out and get a coffee in the morning and sit in either the village green or on one of the streets or by this church door. So this is a recurring theme that you can see me playing with different colours. You can see that I'm writing, you know, text, and if I feel like the page needs something else, and I've got no idea what else to do, you'll see lots of colour charts on the page. And another thing that you'll see is how I treat the start of the page. I start my day reading the Bible, writing a few verses, and that's always positioned in this text block. So every day I've got this idea of how am I going to deal with what's on the page. Do I create a column, or how do I use that? This page is one that I talked a bit about in the Sketchbook design live stream, which I wasn't happy with how it positioned, so I extended the sketch. And interestingly, this is back in December, end of December. This is the only dedicated sketching outing on this whole book. So all of the rest of the sketches are all related to all related to sketching my everyday life, finding moments of sketching. So here we go. The village green sketches are starting. We're going to see this building, which is the cafe, and the lift building many times. And you can see that on this particular day, I'm experimenting with what happens. How does this brown marker go when I put water over it? And also a constant challenge is how to deal with the background. So this is another recurring theme. And this is all the sketchbooks that I filled in 2020. And I can see the chat is going along. Just want to send Terry a big hug. And sorry for your loss. There's a chat there. Comment in the chat that I can see go. And hello everyone. Hello Jan. Wow, nice to see you. Jan and I met in Paris many years ago and sketched together, didn't we? A long time ago. Okay, so if you have any questions about any specific pages, just try and put a little bit of context, because I might have moved on and there's a little bit of a delay, but at the moment I hope you're enjoying just seeing my pages. Okay, so here we go, another village green. On this particular day I am actually using flat brushes, so I'm experimenting with different brushes. So generally all my sketches are done with a dagger brush. So this is the Series 772 half-inch dagger from Rosemary, and I also use the 3/8, which is a smaller version, which comes in a travel component. But I'm wanting to play with different brushes and marks, and so this particular one was done with a square brush, which creates interesting effects. You can see this is another one where I wasn't happy with the small brush. This is a R20 red dot brush. So once again, you can see this experimentation that I'm doing. I'm trying different things. Going down to Lane Cove National Park is another theme that you'll see recur. And this is then trying to sketch when I'm around my nieces and nephews, the 4 of them. So this was, I started to draw some of the costumes that they were dressing up, and then they said, oh, we want to draw in your book. So I was drawing and they were colouring, and then this was like a test strip to try and find the colours. And I wrote about this on my blog at the time, as this page was a bit of a mess, and the same with the next one as well. But I then, when I came home, worked out how to tie it together into an interesting layout. So this is a major theme of my work, is I throw things on the page during the day, and then when I come back, is that sharp? When I come back home at night, I try and tie it together. more, this particular one is doing a lot of tests with watercolor pencils rather than the color pencils, which I don't know as well. And sketching at the at the church door again. This particular occasion, I was with a friend. We were catching up, and most of my friends know that if I sketch while we're catching up, while we're talking, that they know I'm still listening, and not only that the conversation is encoded into the sketch. And so this particular one, I have absolutely no idea what I was doing. I was just purely reflex sketching, but I just started and then worked across, worked outwards, while I was talking to her quite actively over, I don't know, a period of an hour maybe. And the sketch is what it is. I leave it in its unfinished state as a kind of record of the conversation. So you can see, I hope you're getting the idea that I'm just trying to, and this is a dedicated, I'm going out for a walk, but the rest of it, getting a coffee, going to the supermarket, just trying to incorporate sketching into my day as much as possible. This one was specific. This was just the kind of random toys that my nieces and nephews pick up from mum and dad's stash. And that's just a record of the day, meaningful to me, not so meaningful to anyone else, but they were trying to put Bert in these cookie tins. And another theme that I'm dealing with this year as well is that I am starting to write on Sunday in my pages. LD stands for Lord's Day for me. So you will see a number of pages where I have a lot of text blocks. Does people want to zoom in a little bit? You're not supposed to read all my notes. You can read them on my blog, but I can zoom in maximum as much as possible. Okay. So any questions? You enjoying looking through my book each page? I mean, I think this is the way to see a sketchbook, right? It's like seeing still images just doesn't give you that sense of the flow from page to page. And one of the things that I'm also always thinking about is how the sequence of pages, so you can see this is a very vertical page, and then this is more horizontal going across there. And one of the personal challenges that I have is that often the things during the day, like I have no problem sketching when I go out on location. So I'll go get a coffee, I'll sketch the same scene over and over again. And I'm never bored by that. But at the end of the day, I go, what am I going to sketch that documents today? And a lot of the things that I kind of use that might be a little bit different are actually really boring things, or they're black objects. And so that's one of the things I'm trying to think about. This particular sketch, which is something that's sitting up here, it's a camera clamp. I actually just left the light side white and then just used black ink with my Fude pen for all of that one. And I was like quite successful. Yes, this is A4 size. So it's a little bit bigger than the, is it the 8x10? I haven't used it for months now. The soft cover one, which I previously was my favorite size. I'm really enjoying the biggest size. It's heavier, much heavier to carry around, but having the hard cover is just reminding me I don't need a support so much. Okay, so you're enjoying it, but no one's got any questions. That's good. But fire away with questions if you have them at any stage. So this one is one of my Zoom catch-up calls with my friend Esther from Scotland. Each time we do a different castle. And so it's super interesting that as I look at these sketches, I can remember what our conversation, what we were talking about here and over here and over here and over here. As I look at different parts of my sketches, I remember what we were talking about at the time. And I mean, I hope that some of you experience that as well. And I also, what I do as I look back on my work is I always look at a sketch and I go, what are the bits that I really like? And okay, so I will zoom in here so you can see. So some absolutely really lovely bits of watercolor, and the thing shakes while I move in. Sorry, we just, through here that I really, really like. And I'm actually thinking today, how did I do that? And how can I do that again? Because I tried something yesterday that wasn't quite so successful. So good, you're enjoying it. If you turned up late, welcome, welcome. I'm just flicking through the pages of my book, talking about why I sketch things and all the rest. Okay, do I have a template for drawing the lines? It won't be in this book anymore. Okay, so I have at the back of my book, I have a envelope with bits and pieces. So I'll have to go to my current book, and my current book, I have a template of lines, which I use, and you can see that this then gives me that guideline for where I'm starting through there, and that the link is in the chat. Thanks, Chantal. But this is the particular one that I'm using at the moment. I'm actually not using these horizontal lines across the page, but yeah, that is my guideline for that. And because one of the advantages of the alpha paper is that you can see through the page for the lines as long as you don't have any paint. And if I can't see through it, I just put the lines on the side and then rule the lines. Okay. How did you do the aerial perspective? It was actually a sketch from a photo. So I'm just basically drawing the lines as I see them while we're talking. Thank you. Yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Okay, and then here we are back at the village green. So here are so the interesting thing, a lot of you think I just sit the same spot and draw the same scene every day, but there's 4 different seats, and there's some seats here, and so this is the view of the 2 buildings. But every time I draw this particular building, so this is the lift building going down to underground parking, the relationship between the parts is a little bit different. So this one's got a very strong horizontal. And along the top here is a fun colour chart testing that I did I got a bunch of cheap angular washes. So you can see that I'm doing kind of swatches with it, and then the dark ultramarine area here is actually documenting the size of the brush along the top. So that was actually really fun. I make the grid line paper specifically for me. And if you're in the Sketchbook design course, I have different sizes that are available for PDF. Sketchbook, Stillman and Burn Alpha. Okay. And then, sometimes I'm in this very playful mode because we're doing the Sketchbook design. So this was me playing with overlapping the pastel shapes. So this is, this is the same. I mean, the interesting thing is that I'm using more or less the same watercolor colors every day, but I'm using different marker colors underneath. This one particularly has some beautiful textures. So that's what I'm really interested in my work at the moment is creating texture and interesting colors, and that's happening. Can't see the top of my page. I've zoomed in as much as possible. So you can see, like people say, does the alpha buckle? It does buckle. I clip it. I use clips a lot to clip it together. Yes, and so if people ask about the stamps, Chantal will, I use a date stamp that I stamp every morning. The rest is my architectural handwriting that back in the day I actually had to do a sample of my handwriting in a job interview, believe it or not. This one here I'm experimenting with. So a lot of my sketches, I push the limit a little bit. So this is like a wet day, very experimental. I was actually testing how many layers, what would happen, does it get murky, opaque? And so I'm intentionally, making, like overworking some things to see where that limit is. I do want to come back to this spot and have another go. I mean, the funny thing, and I'm always looking at my sketches and go, okay, what's the bit that I really like? For me, the bit that I really like is actually this bit just down here. So I'm always going, okay, what's the bit I like? What did I do? What was I using? How did I get that effect? And kind of going back and trying to think through. And then a wet day, I sometimes go into a cafe. So I used to go into a cafe a lot. I was looking through my work, some of my pages recently, and I was like, oh, I was sketching a coffee every single day back in the day. Now it's a very rare thing. And one of the reasons I ended up sketching my coffee all the time is because the baristas would specially make something for me to sketch. So I felt like I should. So this is my local cafe, and you can see the all of the kind of purple, the lavender lines underneath. That's telling me that I actually drew those first and then adjusted as I laid over it. So this is a way I like to work, which is what I talk about in my foundations course, what's called minimal setup. So I do a really quick rough map out the whole, work out how it's going to go on the page, and then pick up my pen and then refine it as I go. And then the fact that the colour shapes and the lines don't quite align is part of the energy that I want. So let's just zoom in so you can see this bit as well. So you can see here how these bits and pieces, there's a bit of pencil there, all kinds of stuff happening through there. And then this here as well, there's pencil, there's marker, and there's watercolour, all in that coffee sketch as well. And these type of blooms or backgrounds, whatever, like some people stress about them, I love them. I just leave them. They're all part of it. It's actually part of the reason why I like playing with markers at the moment is actually the fact that the dye-based ink in those markers has a tendency more. Okay, how do I choose the Bible passage for the day? I'm reading through a plan a year which has a different part of the Bible for each day, so that's why it's jumping Psalm Day, History Day, and such like that. Yeah, so okay, so a bit of collage. I really like to have some more collage in my day, but I want it to somehow be related to what I'm doing. I talked about this inside the Sketchbook design course, but this one, like security envelopes are really fun. I love the sound when you turn the page. This is meaningful because I got an email saying, remember, you've got to go and do your eye test for your driver's license. And then when I went to the service centre, I was expecting to be a long queue and to have to sketch, but there wasn't. So that's why I ended up going, wow, I didn't get to sketch because there was no line. But this is a record of where I was. So this here is, this here, you're just asking about my reading from my Bible in the morning. These post-it notes are actually, I bought new post-it notes so that I've got 7 different post-it notes in my Bible for whatever the different day. So that's what that is about, drawing a little map. This was a mini outing, but like just locally, just before it rained. So once again, I'm looking at what works, what doesn't work. My lines look wonky, not energetic when they don't line up. Well, that's that. I love wonky too. So maybe it's a matter of training the way that you look at your own work. Next Friday, so in January, I spend the Friday with the family. So I tried the same technique, or the kids wanted the same technique, but it just didn't work. They were too distracted, and then my niece wanted me to draw a Barbie doll, and I said, no, I'm not drawing a Barbie doll. And then I said, soft toy, and she ended up with something from Frozen. Anyway, so I thought next time I go over, I'm going to have some loose sheets of paper. It was fun once, but like now it's like, anyway, it's a nice record, but it's like, I don't want frozen dolls in my book. And then this was why I was talking to my brother and sister-in-law. We're chatting a lot, so it's reflex. This has got coloured pencil under the watercolour. So I'm always switching between the way I combine things. and we go. And this is probably one of my least favourite in the whole sketchbook. Just put two things down and couldn't pull it together. That's fine. This one's also another one with a lot of text going through there, and yeah, kind of trying to just play with extending my lines across, overlapping into the scene. I mean, some days I'm busy and all I get is this sketch done, which takes me about 15-20 minutes. So I go get a coffee, do a sketch, and that's the way I start my day. If I don't get much else done in the day, at least I've started out. Yes, and we're talking about the sketchbook design course. So, you know, I'm not doing as much single spread sketches in this book, but when I do them, I'm always very conscious about how I position on the page and where the white space is and where I'm going to position my text as well. So when I go on more sketching outings, which just didn't happen in January, you'll see that I alternate quite a lot. Before I start sketching, I will place it on the page. This is one of my favourite spots down in Lane Cove that I've sketched many times. This one's interesting because I put pale blue pencil underneath through here, which I'm really liking. The variation of Fude pen strokes adds a lot to the dynamism along with the loose drawing. William's saying, how much does the Fude pen influence how you work? What to leave out, when to stop. Good. This is a really good question. I'll pause my sketchbook and get some paper out. Hold on. Let me just get some scrap paper. So, yeah, so I assume most of you are familiar with the Fude pen. So the Fude pen has a nib that kicks up, which means that you're able to do really thick lines and really thin lines just by adjusting the angle at which I'm putting it on the page. So I either do that or this or that. So by adjusting the angle, you can adjust the thickness. But the really beautiful thing about this pen that often people don't talk about, sorry, my camera always shakes when I adjust, is the fact that is not so much just the line variation in terms of the thickness of the overall line, but the fact that every time I draw a line, it's expressive in its length, and I also get these big beads at the end of the line. So as I'm drawing the line, so I hold the pen very loosely. I'm drawing my lines, you know, light touch. I'm adjusting this. I'm getting these very expressive lines. So as I'm drawing anything, you know, so if I just come and if I draw something like this, you can see that that's got a lot. This is me just drawing naturally. I'm not adjusting the pressure, anything. That's very quick, loose sketch of that. Now, if I get a normal pen, or can I find a normal pen that's working? And basically, I think every single sketch in this book is done with a Fude practically. Okay, yeah, so this is my other favourite pen, which is a Lamy Joy with a normal nib in it, about a medium. Mine's is a gold nib, so it has a little bit of variation. Yeah, so let me try and just do the same type of thing. So I'm still getting variation. So there's still actually variation in there. This is why fountain pen over a fine liner. If I had a fine liner, then this pen hasn't been used for a while, so it needs a good clean to just, so you can see that this is not, I don't know what's, you know, this is still expressive, but not as expressive as using, this is with the Fude, and this is a medium nib. And so it's the way that I'm doing it. Okay, I'm a lefty. How do you keep the ink from smearing? Well, okay, drawing as a lefty is much easier than writing. I don't know if you noticed in what I just did and all of these examples, I'm drawing my lines from right to left. So I will start this sketch. So when I did this sketch, I started here and moved across there. So, and if I was to, do I have a fine liner that in front of me? Oh, okay. I've got no idea if this works. Haha, this is what I used to use as an architect. Let's come and do a, yeah, okay. Oh, wow, this feels so weird. This feels really weird. Oh, okay. Look at this, these lines. I've got to see, I slowed down because of this pen because I'm not aware of it, right? So it's still, the way I'm drawing my lines is still a bit of variation. But it's very different from those. So you can see why I love. But to go back to William's question, does a Fude influence how I work, what to leave out, when to stop? Yes, I think that I use less lines because the lines are thicker. Okay, so I don't like drawing with really fine lines, because if I'm going to draw ink and wash, I want to express the ink. Okay, I need to try a Fude, absolutely. Now, it'll take a while to get used to, and so some people just, you know, if you're someone that holds the pen really tight, you're going to go, oh, I can't get the variation. So you'll notice that I'm always changing the direction. I'm holding it very loose in my page. When I mean, it's always weird. I always just draw straight lines. But anyway, you know, there's a brush in front of me, sitting in front of me. So, you know, I often will adjust the way I'm holding the pen. Okay, so there we go. Mini demo of different pens and why I'm addicted to the Fude. Okay, so, and there is a, you're asking, there is also a finer line. This is the 40-degree one. So it's not quite as much of a kick up. So its lines are not as thick. Oh, I've got to really slow down to be able to get that thick. So in order to get the angle. So a lot of people find the 40-degree one easier to use than the 55. But for my mind, the 55 is the go. Is the go. Okay, what I correct, Fude to rude. Yeah, we know. Okay, or is it food? I never know how to express it. Okay, so get back to Sketchbook. So occasionally I will do a different view. So this is sitting sideways, looking across at this very, very boring building. Like the village green is really not that interesting, right? It's not really that nice a space, but it's a really good challenge to create interesting things. And once again, here I'm really thinking about how much of the background am I going to do? This swatch up here is me testing the fact that these markers, even though they're quick drying, they still are moist for a little while. And when they're moist, I can't draw over them with coloured pencils, but watercolour pencils go over them when they're damp better. So what often happens, so I'm out, morning coffee, you know, do a sketch, I think, oh, I should test that when I go home. And so maybe during my afternoon tea or my break, I'll do a little test to suit that. This is kind of a bit of a, you know, these did not work. These are too heavy. But hey, listen, you know, everything is like pudding is learning. You can't learn things unless you make the mistake. So that's all part of it. This is then starting this new idea of having a separate bag with a small selection of pencils and toned paper for an evening walk. So, you know, this page isn't very exciting, but it's important. Documents some books that I bought, documents the fact that that door was actually opened, and this is how much I got sketched at the time. And yeah, sure, I took a photo, but I'm not going to change it because I'm not going to add colour to it because I want a document of, hey, I managed to get the interior drawn before the guy came and closed the door. A rare teacup sketch, but anyway, I'll get more here. And then I started to really think about, okay, what are the, let's really play with the marker shapes that I start my sketch with, and then paint over the top. So these are the colours with a big emphasis on the yellow, and I'm like really pleased with how that turns out and the type of colours that are coming from there. And then I also love identifying gum trees. So this is a collection of things that I got from this place. So this is one of those rare double page spreads at the moment. So you can see that, you know, really carefully thinking about whether I'm going to go to the edge. And you can you just see the edge? Sorry, you can't. Okay. So how far to the edge? I actually add the sky later, or sometimes last, but sometimes it's mid-sketch. Once I've worked out how the sketch starts, there's blue marker under here, and then this through here is a complete disaster, because I thought I was using a coloured pencil, and it turned out to be a watercolour pencil. And I don't like this watercolour pencil so much. So it's like, oh well, so be it, so be it. And we always have a discussion inside Sketchbook Design about where to put a date stamp, which I don't normally do. So I just put one in there. Everyone's always asking me. Here we go. So, you know, didn't go out. It was raining, I think. Anyway, so a bit of a colour block. The pink picks up the pink in this leopard teacup. And then when I went to Lane Cove, I then added pink at the end to this to tie the two spreads together. So that's another thing too. If you just look at that, you know, if you're just looking at my work on Instagram and you just see that, you've got no idea of how the colour was influenced by what else was on the page there. And then I'm always playing games with this idea of overlapping things. So you can see here that the lines are going underneath here, and these ones align. That's something we've been talking a lot about in Sketchbook Design, and talking about Sketchbook Design. This was a day with the family, another Friday. And like, I don't like this sketch in the middle. This sketch, I was like, oh, it was crazy, madness, madness, madness. I drew 3 versions of a popcorn because I had been reading, practice reading the descriptions on the packet with my niece. So that's why I then, after the event, came back and did this. And then this was a page which we did a lot of exploration of different options inside the Sketchbook Design live stream. And I actually really like this page. So I don't like that sketch very much, but I really like the way all the different elements on this page sit and pull together. So that's where the power of the layout of the page is so important. You know, for me, if I go through what this would get the top in the top 10 pages of this sketchbook purely from the design. And there's another date stamp. We had a lot of fun. Those of you who were part of that live stream, do we put up here? Okay, here's a page that, you know, this was unsuccessful experiments, but I learned from it. And then busy day, what do I do to balance it? At the end of the day is just, you know, a bit of colour swatches. It's my get out of jail card type of thing. And this little bit of collage here, this is actually just documenting the fact that I started a big box of toilet paper. There we go. Anyway, another page we talked about in Sketchbook Design. So once again, so this is interesting. This is when I started using Tombos. So there's a lot of really interesting effects through here. So as I look at as I flip through my pages, I go, this here didn't work, but this here is a bit murky, but through here is really interesting. What did I do? What was the combination? And I have that ongoing conversation with myself all the time as I'm looking through my book. And there's absolutely no judgment. I'm not going, oh, I'm not beating myself up. I'm going, okay, I'm experimenting, I'm learning. Learning all the time. So those of you who get discouraged with your work, try and have a really positive attitude to looking at your work, and always try and find the bits that you like first. So you look at a sketch and you go, oh, I really like this. Why did that work? What did I do right? And really have a thought process about that. And then when you find bits that, you know, okay, this is a bit murky, you go, okay, that was because I was overworking it. And you start having that kind of really constructive conversation with yourself about how to improve your work. So this is another sketch using the same colours, but very different. So where was that other one? So here are the same colours, very yellow. This is a very cool version. This is another one. This is one we talked about on Sketchbook Design, and I completely overthought this one. I drew a map because I wanted to draw a map, but then I decided that it was a bit busy, so I created a flap. Here's another one of my little quick sketches. This is the little bag. I like your unsuccessful sketches a lot, almost more. Okay, good. And I like the term unsuccessful because, well, I don't even know what this is one that doesn't do anything much for me, but once again, this is one of those experimental ones where I'm intentionally pushing the limits of like how many layers can I put on? Is it going to achieve what I want or not? But the important thing, once again, is the placement of the sketch, the composition of the sketch. What I've decided to do to leave this white is part of the success of the sketch, even though there's bits and pieces. So I experiment, but I'm always thinking about compositions. Love your nature studies. So here's another one. So this has got pink underneath it. This is like a little bit like the Foundations Constructing Volumes lesson 4, but like the funny angle. But anyway, but like, oh, I really like what's happening here. And this is the thing, I bought a new tower fan, which I love, absolutely love, but it's a really boring thing to sketch. So that's like one of the things. Do I use a water brush with the Tombow markers? No, I'm actually putting watercolor over the markers. So I have a water brush with me, but I rarely use it. This one is a bit earlier, so I kind of emphasize the shadows. Okay, so Susanna's asking a question. Good, a little bit of context for me. Did you sketch those botanical elements on the right page over the top of the blue lines, or did you draw them on top of those lines? I drew the blue lines after, and if you're in Sketchbook Design, one of the live streams, probably live stream 2, I actually explained the thought process of how I had an idea of how I was going to design this page, came up with some options, and then as I started, I changed my mind. So yes, the lines are drawn afterwards. But the interesting thing, this particular ink is, which is J. Herbin Diablo Menthe, actually lifts quite well. So sometimes I will draw over the top and you'll paint and you won't see the lines at all. At this point, I switched to an Aquarius palette. So the rest of the watercolor in this book now is using an Aquarius color palette. This is, you know, a random bits and pieces, reading a book about Frank Lloyd Wright, losing one of my AirPods, also trying to work out a system for my new microphone, well, my microphone I'm using at the moment, and putting them all together. This was trying to be creative with the way I do a color chart. Wasn't so successful. This one is a page where, you know, so this is like, I like playing with composition, like I like kind of intentionally creating awkward things in order to train my design muscles. So I had coffee with a friend and my mum. It was totally crazy trying to sketch this. Quite like the coffee. This is, I don't even know what it is, but anyway. And then someone in the chat in live Sketchbook Design was saying that I never do freeform organic shapes. So that was my attempt. And then I came and put this in. I started to do a line with a Fude, and it's like Fudo fail. So I then got washi tape out and did a bit of a washi tape border, which doesn't make any sense, but generates an idea that I can try again. So, okay, Susanna's, you're not part of it, but if you want to pop in at any stage and find out more about that particular one, you just go back into the classroom and look under the live stream replays, and you'll actually find step-by-step photos of that particular one in either lesson 1 or lesson 2 as well. Okay, they're starting with marker shapes. So after I do a page where I experiment and like, yeah, that was a bit, didn't quite fall together, I'll often go and then go, okay, let's have a nice, calm, controlled page, the next one. So this is me, Ultra Neat Liz, I've been doing some prompts for my friend Melanie Chadwick, and this is like a really boring sketch of a boring gate. But there's some fun colour things happening through the combination. And then this one here had some different colours. There's also a blog post called Fun Colours on a Drab Day. Terry says, I like your freeform text. Yes, I just don't know how to deal with it. I'm such an architect. I like things to being straight. An overlap. Here's another one. Family. Yes, a family day. So this is a rare occasion where I did actually sketch some photos after the event, but that's pretty rare. This page feels a little light on to me. So sometimes I will go, as I'm flicking through my book, I'll go, you know, maybe if I'd made the border a bit heavier. So I'm constantly, like, while a sketchbook's there, I'm going back, I might make adjustments. I talked about this in the live stream that I recently, that there was some lines there and I didn't feel like this. And so it felt wrong, so I filled it up. So I wrote, this text block needs filling up to finish off the page. Discuss this on live stream 3. Didn't get to go on as many outings with the family this year, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and then here more, you know, I like playing with positive and negative. So having lots of white space against a paint. This is playing with colour again, losing the shape sometimes because I'm playing so much with colour. We're getting there. Have we got any other questions while I'm going? I want to try and, you know, wrap up in 10, 15 minutes. So this is one of these crazy text block pages from a Sunday. Look, this is a day when I didn't use, look at this, I didn't use the stamp. That's Sunday and this is Monday. I did an experiment, which I'm not going to show you, but you can see a little bit of it there. Just didn't go with the page, so I covered it with some swatches. More of the same. So look, you know, my life is about this. I mean, everyday life is very repetitive, isn't it? So in a way, my sketchbook is a way of just documenting. So move down. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading what I wrote. I remember doing this sky particularly and flowing a bead around. And so you know, I'm sketching the same scene every day, but every day it's different because I'm using a different combination of materials. I've also been using this crazy teapot, which you'll see in a minute. You know, more bits and pieces. This is sketching before a meeting. This one is this is, you know, so a lot of the background of the village green is quite ugly. So I do a lot of editing and then some days I decide to do it. So this is the teapot and a matching teacup and trying to work out the pattern with all these different things. Bit of a crazy experiment. This is related to doing backgrounds for my Sketching Now site. Going along. More of the same, so it's the same. It's not exactly the same position. Not quite the same spot that I'm sitting because I notice the position of the tree. But you can see 2 days later, I sketch the same scene and it's looking different. The markers I'm using, Jan, for those of you who are later, I'm using a combination of gold Faber Aquas, which are not yet available in Australia, I don't think. And Tombos, so they're dye-based, water soluble. How do you come up with new ways to sketch the same scene? Basically, it's colour. I start with a different colour, or I look at a different aspect. But more or less, right? So I'll go because, like, you know, this is me fitting sketching into my day. So the thing is, the entry level to actually sketching has to be really low. So I'm not stressing about creating a masterpiece. I'm just going, I'm going to have this coffee. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do in the day. I'm not really thinking about sketching. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to, you know, pull a few different colors, start. And then as I start working, this is the way I like working a lot, something I talk about in Foundations Lesson 11, I let the sketch evolve as I'm working, and that's the way, you know, that's the you know, that's the way I'm working. This, you know, this book particularly is all about just finding time to sketch in busy life. Yeah, and this was like with friends for afternoon tea for birthday. I got there early and I just did a quick sketch of the tree. I would have liked to have sketched some of the food and bits and pieces, but it was just too hectic, so I did it. But this with friends, I quickly tried to sketch my meal and then the view. Very rough, but it's a good record of my time. Okay, we've got some questions coming in. I'll just go a few more pages and then we'll catch up with some questions. This is a page we had a lot of fun in Livestream 3, a sketchbook inside the sketchbook design course, coming up with 3 different options with the group. A lot of people wanted this border to come horizontally and connect this, but I wasn't happy with the proximity with the teacup. So after the live stream and I pulled all the options together, I came up with this layout, this is my sketching things in the bag. Okay, so there's a question. So this is Wendy's asking, how do you like to carry all the various mediums with you when you're out and about? How many do you carry at the moment? So I've reduced it since this. So for those of you who missed the beginning, this is what I was carrying around with me at the time of this sketchbook, which is a lot. And so this is my everyday bag or purse, I think is what you Americans call. So it has my wallet and bits and pieces inside the main component. And then I have pencils in this pencil pouch to paint, a couple of travel brushes, my normal brush, dagger brush in a toothbrush holder, some water containers. So this more or less comes with me everywhere. And then I have, if I flick ahead, a secondary bag, which I carry. At the time I had 2 separate, I had a gold Faber and I had a Tombow bag, right? And so I would take one or both depending on how I'm there. And I'm just happy to carry them around with me. But I've reduced that into one, and I've basically taken away, this was Tombow's and WCP's, which is watercolor pencils. I've reduced that quite a lot. So that's how I look. It's fine. I just, if I need to, if I feel like, I'm going out, my bag's going to be really heavy, I'll just pull a few things out. I'll take this whole thing out, just grab a couple of pens and throw it in. So I can do that. Love the lavender wide line across 2 pages with the tree. So this is what I call a colour block. So it ties things together. Do you ever use your sketchbook pages as template for frame paintings? I don't do any frame paintings, so the answer to that is no. I'm basically, my sketchbook is my book. It's my life, documenting my life. It's that narrative of my life. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I'm just doing it for my own enjoyment. So here we have a very contained view of the cafe. Yes, okay, I'm going, what's that? But I know what that is. This was me playing with a more structured layout, bits and pieces. So this is a little diagram showing the kind of colours. So this is where I play with, when I start my sketch, I'm thinking, okay, what are these shapes going to be and how am I going to put them on the page? And that's different every time. A quick teacup sketch, a walk, and then a other sketch. This was another one we talked about a lot in sketchbook design, and you'll notice I ended up at the end, those of you who were part of that discussion, was lots and lots of ideas. I ended up trimming, moving it up because I was worried about this gap here, and then putting a line, my lines coming down through here as well. So it's quite fun. We have a lot of fun inside my Sketching Now courses while we're going through a course in a live stream. Very interactive, and I can see there was a question about white gel pen. Thank you for asking, because I realised yesterday I didn't have one. So look, I just find they're not the most reliable things. I just have the Signo Broad Uni Ball in my bag. through there. Village green in the middle of the day is not so interesting. And then the last couple of spreads, so we're getting towards the end now. What we're currently looking at is open compositions and the idea of tying things together. So this was, what am I crazy? So I'm in this really crazy experimental mode at the moment. So I put this sketch on the page, and then I had done some of this blue. Isn't this blue beautiful? This is light blue Caran d'Ache luminance. It's so nice. And then I just thought, oh, what happens if I extend this blue and just keep going and tie it into this sketch? So that was kind of fun. And then the next day I did the same type of idea. This sky was a little bit murky, and I thought, hey, why don't I try something opaque? So this is then locking two different sketches together with some sky shapes, and really, really fun. And then just the last pages, I'll just quickly show you. So this was me documenting, this is by, watercolor paint, color pencils, watercolor pencils. This was then going, okay, of my pencils, my watercolor pencils and my markers, what do I have in each category? How do I reduce them? You can see I have so many greens. So it's funny, I don't have greens in my palette, but like when it comes to markers and pencils, I like the greens. So I did this to help me reduce. And then this is just a page for a potential project for a meeting I had with some interior designers. And then right at the end, I actually have, I'm not going to show you, this is a pencil plan, calendar of my year, of the months, and an envelope for bits and pieces. And so there we have it. Any last questions? So there you go, 10 o'clock on the dot. Okay, I wasn't sure how this would go. Have we got any other questions? Jan saying the live stream sketchbook design is an incredible amount of fun. Highly recommend the course. Thank you, Jan. It's great having you in there. It's been great to see a lot of familiar names here. So I'll just end, if you're interested in my courses, just with a little summary of what my courses are. So look, if you've got any final questions, please just put them in the chat now. Otherwise, we will wrap up. So my Sketching Now courses are like a comprehensive program to help you develop your own style, not copy me, to develop a really strong sketching habit and to be able to sketch with confidence out on location. And I have two groups of courses, ones which I'm calling the Sketch Your Life, which come together in the Sketch Your Life bundles, which is all about the foundations, the basic skills, foundations, which is drawing skills, a little bit of colour, drawing objects at home and our location, watercolour, which really focuses in on understanding watercolour and pigments, and then sketchbook design, which is all about creating beautiful pages, which is what we've been talking a lot about today. And then I have a second tier of courses which are more intermediate, which are really focused on specifically on sketching on location. So we have Edges, which is all about how to create more dynamic ink and wash sketches. Buildings, which is specifically on buildings, so that's my specialty, being an architect. And Watercolour on Location, which is a lot about more sophisticated things of using watercolour and composition and all kinds of fun stuff that we're having. The chat's going very very active. There's a link there to Sketching Now. Great refresher course in an hour. So I'm giving you a lot of ideas about my practice and my experiment and how I deal with my work, how I'm always trying something different, how I'm not afraid to sketch the same thing over and over again. I don't care if it's boring. MC says thanks for the wonderful live stream and your great courses. So generous with what you share. They're amazing courses. Thank you. Lisa says nice to see all the variations within your sketchbook. Susanna's, these courses are terrific. I've learned to draw, use watercolour, design and much more because of Liz's course as well. Thank you, Susanna. And another great feature is the community, of which a lot of the people here chatting today are part of, which I know some of you will be able to share about how amazing it is to have that connection with people commenting on your work, cheering you on the whole way. And yeah, Chantal, the link queen, she does a pretty amazing job of collecting links to put into the chat all the time. And so, look, I think, I hope you've enjoyed this sketchbook tour. Is that worthwhile doing this as a live stream to go through rather than a pre-recorded video? I certainly enjoy being able to do it in a more interactive way, to be able to chat, do mini demos of Fude pens. And if you'd like to see this more, I'd be very happy to do this more regularly when I finish a sketchbook. And yeah, let me know, you know, maybe in the comments at the below the video if you want to see more of these. The chat's going nice. Let me see, come back over the top. So fun to see your entire sketchbook all at once. Okay, that's what it is. I spend so much time flicking through my pages, going back, maybe adjusting things, and really, like, you know, this book is my companion for the last month. This book is my life. And yeah, I didn't get to go on any sketching outings in January at all, which is a bit sad. But at the same time, I didn't need to because of these daily practices. And so that's what I really want to encourage you to really not stress about whether you've got something nice to sketch, but just keep the practice going, keep sketching. And if you're doing the sketchbook design course, I know that you're learning lots of skills for being able to create beautiful pages through the use of the white spaces. Wonderful community, definitely. Yes, I vote yes, keep doing these. Okay, good. Okay, so why not just put a yes if you want me to keep doing these type of things. Let me know in the chat if you want me to do, just quickly put a yes, 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 yes. What else do I need to tell you? What run-throughs are coming through this year? So I'm organising a group event for watercolour and foundations. We will do a live version of buildings later in this year. And there is a new course coming, which I have nothing more to say at this moment. So lots of yes. Okay, good. Yeah, great to see this book in its entirety. Lots of yeses with exclamation marks. That's good. Yes, yes, says Monica. Okay, I haven't had a break for a cup of tea. Sip my tea at all today. Yes. What sketchbook? Stillman & Byrne Alpha, A4 size hardbound. Look at that. Look at that buckling. Is that okay? Is that acceptable? Yes, please. Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this live stream. So wonderful to do it. And to share my whole book with you. So please keep sketching and have fun. And remember, it's just paper, just turn the page and keep going. Okay, see you next time. See you. Thanks. Bye.